Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be talking about 5 more pieces of lost media. These pieces of lost media are the most lost out of most media. So let's go over 5 pieces of the most lost media. Yeah Yeah Beavis was a game that appeared in the mail order video game reselling magazine Play It Again, and it appeared in its July, August, and September listings. But when October came around, it disappeared. But in October, it did reappear in another magazine, a very similar mail order video game reselling magazine known as Funko. That month in October, it appeared there, but it was shortened to Yeah Beavis 1, excluding the secondary Yeah, and was also miscategorized between WrestleMania and Xenophobia. Now, the game would go on to appear in the November and December listings. This was in the year 1989. But when January 1990 came around, the game disappeared from all magazines, never to be seen again. Now, of course, the question is, what is this game? It was a video game reselling magazine, so everything there had to have already been released because you resold games. That was the whole point of it. And you bought these old already used games. Well, one possible theory that it could have been a copyright trap, and that Play It Again wanted to see if people were copying their listings. But first of all, why would you want to copy a video game reselling magazine's listing? The whole point is that you are selling something. Why would you want to have stuff on your menu that doesn't exist? It only really works with maps and stuff like similar stuff or information, informational booklets or stuff like that. But something like that doesn't really work. Now, another possibility that it could have been a very, very mistranslated version of Super Pitfall. Super Pitfall was a game released for the Nintendo Entertainment System, the popular game console around at the time. And the theory states that the name got translated to Japanese, and then it got turned back into English, and then along the way got horribly butchered because it was notorious at the time that Japanese translations were very, very bad. It also could have been possibly a wide variety of other Japanese games that are just so poorly translated into English that they ended up becoming something completely incomprehensible. Yeah, Beavis 1. And of course, that is a possibility, but we don't know. We tried to get in contact with people who did work there, we got nothing from them. On November the 6th, 2004, on a 2chan thread, the Japanese version of 4chan, a user made a post recalling a very strange commercial or public service announcement he saw during his childhood. The commercial featured 2 white figures standing in front of a railroad track, and every now and then there'd be a clanging sound. Clang, clang, clang. And when it happened, one of the figures would disappear. When it clanged once, one would disappear. When it clanged again, the figure would reappear, but the other figure would disappear. There's also a message that would read, every 2 seconds, a man dies on Earth. Other people in the thread remember the commercial, and eventually took off from there. For the last several years, people have been trying to find the commercial, and I've given it the name Hitogata. Now, various people have come out and claimed to have remembered the commercial, slight variations, alterations, and they've been able to come up with a time frame of when the commercial aired, which would have been 1996 to 2003, and they've even been able to make a map of Japan showing what areas had the most prominent sightings of Hitogata over the years. Now, the thing is, there is no evidence of Hitogata existing, no official records, no screenshots, no stills, no nothing. One person was actually able to get their hands on several cassette tapes full of these sort of commercials and PSAs. Yet after going through them, nothing was found, and there is no real evidence of it. Only eyewitness sighting says that it exists, and eyewitness sighting cannot be used solely to say the evidence for something. Of course, even in a court of law, eyewitness testimony cannot be only relied upon because it is notoriously fickle. Alongside that, these typically happened to them when they were children, and our childhood memories can often be a bit spotty and foggy, especially as you get older and enter adulthood. A lot of them fade away or just outright sometimes get made up occasionally. So there's no official record or evidence that it exists besides people saying they saw it. It's considered existence unconfirmed because there is no evidence of it really existing besides people believing they saw it all those years ago in Japan. Dracula is a 1920 Russian film and was the first ever adaptation of Bram Stoker's Gothic horror novel, Dracula. Now, the first ever mention of this movie came from the book, The Vampire Book, the Encyclopedia of the Undead, which had its first edition released on January 1st, 1994, with there being two later revisions, one in the 1990s and one in the 2010s. Now, this initial mention of it says that it was the first version, of course, and that no known copies are known to exist. Now, from a Russian academic website, we were able to discover that the people involved with it were Russian and Ukrainian. But besides that, we have no other information about it. There was stills, no posters, no listings for it. The only evidence comes from the Russian academic website. And of course, the earliest is from the book, where it states plainly that no known copies are known to exist. Now, it's been pointed out that 1920 was the middle of the Russian Civil War, and at the time, all movie production would have shifted away from entertainment and into making propaganda films for the war. So it's highly unlikely that this movie would have been produced and could have possibly actually been mistaken for another movie made in 1923, which was Ukrainian, as that's much more likely to possibly be that. That movie is slightly less lost than this one. We have a few stills from the movie, and we even have a poster for the movie. So there's a good possibility maybe it was simply just being misremembered for that one. That the Ukrainian became a Russian, 1923 became 1920. Because besides this, we have no evidence of it existing. Of course, we don't know where exactly the source came from. Where he said that this was in the vampire, but we don't really have a source for that one. So we don't know where he cited that one from at all. And no evidence. And of course, the fact is, if it doesn't exist, it's probably lost for good because it was made in 1920. It was made in Russia. It was made in Russia during the Russian Civil War. It's probably gone. Even if it did exist, it's probably gone forever. Dennis the Menace was a 1993 movie, which to coincide with it had a video game basing itself off of the movie. Now, this Dennis the Menace video game was released for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, the Commodore Amiga, and the Game Boy. But there was also a planned release for the Nintendo Entertainment System as a newspaper clip, as a magazine, Unknown Magazine, showed an advertisement for a Nintendo Entertainment System port of Dennis the Menace. This ad for it was recovered on May 18, 2025, and a photo of it was posted to Twitter. As it was an ad, and the thing is, we only have a portion of the advertisement. The user didn't show the entire advertisement, nor did he say what magazine it came from. So, from the very little of the magazine, from the advertisement, we have, as again, the advertisement fully shown, but from what little text you even read, it clearly shows that there was meant to be a Nintendo Entertainment System port of Dennis the Menace sometime in 1990, most likely 1993. But that game never came out. You can't play it. Of course, it was very common back then for something that was going to be released and get canceled. They never said it was canceled. But, and again, we can't read the entire thing because the user didn't show all of it. And it didn't garner much attention if you were to ask to see it all. Neither did they say the magazine it came from, so we can't even try and find archive versions of it on places like the Wayback Machine or archive.org. So, from what little there was a Dennis the Menace game made for the Nintendo Entertainment System, and we can't play it. So it may have just been canceled. That used to happen all the time. They cancel things, they never say it was canceled. Just kind of forget about it. Of course, it could be out there, but you probably have more evidence of it. So it's kind of this strange thing of we only have a portion of an advertisement for it from an unknown gaming magazine saying that it was going to be released for the NES, but besides that, we have nothing. It's very strange. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a good time. I'll see y'all around sometime in the future. Bye. Have a nice time.